Hey, so can we go back and talk about the career prior to
Oh yeah, love to.
your solo and your, I guess not really prior to producing, because you've been, well, do you know how many records you've produced?
It's close to 100 or maybe more.
And
It's got to be because we were doing 8 to 12 a year at least.
so when you opened the Sound Kitchen, was that really stepping out for you in every way, financially, artistically? What was it? I mean, because it had to be a huge financial investment, right?
Oh, absolutely. When we decided to move from California to Nashville, Dino's a splash maker, man. I mean, him and I are a lot different personalities. Dino likes to enter a party, coming in on, crashing the place. You know what I mean? He wants his presence known. He's a loud person. He's a big, loud, not boisterous, but
Yeah.
just big personality.
Yep.
Dino
that's
said,
good.
if I'm going to Nashville into that music community, I want to go in there with a bang. Now, we were going to build studios anyway, but he said, I want to go to Nashville. We have the chance. We have raw dirt here. We can build a studio from the ground up, which is next to impossible to find raw dirt in California.
Mm-hmm.
But in Nashville, we came about 20 minutes south of town where there were 0 studios, and not one bank in town would loan us $1, except for one, First Tennessee Bank. Every bank said, we will finance it if you put it on Music Row. We did not want to go on Music Row.
Mm-hmm.
Cool Springs was this really cool new area where all the new stores and restaurants were. And we found out, Frank, very, very quickly, this is where all the musicians and artists lived.
Mm.
They all lived in Williamson County out here where we put the studio. And these guys are like, they're in there recording on this, the best equipment you can possibly get. I'm thinking, gosh, I can go home for dinner and come right back. I'm only 5 minutes away.
Right.
So we only had 2 studios to begin with, and the studios became so booked by other clients that were willing to pay rack rate. We still have an obligation to produce a certain amount of records a year. We didn't have enough time in our own 2 studios. So Dino and I are going downtown to record, in other studios because
Wow.
it was nuts. I mean, the place just, not to mention my parents cooked the most amazing Italian food in there. We put in a full kitchen
Yeah.
and a full dining room, and that was a big, big hit in that studio.
Yeah.
So to make a long story short, we decided, I think in 1996, to add about 18,000 square feet.
Right.
We bought the lot next door. I think we paid right around $90,000 for 2 acres, which is so unbelievably cheap for 2 acres. That same 2 acres right now would cost you $2.5 million in Cool Springs.
Seriously.
We paid $90,000 for it, and we're thinking, where are we going to come up with the $90,000?
Sure.
But anyway, we added a bunch of square footage and a bunch more studios, and I'd say we had a 10-year run that was out of this world.
Wow.
An 8 to 10-year run where you couldn't even get a room. You couldn't.
Wow.
We were booked up so far in advance, and my parents are cooking for Julio Iglesias, Springsteen's people, Richie Zambora, Alan Jackson, Faith Hill, Tim McGraw. I mean,
Right.
They wanted to come in there because they loved the studio, and my parents' cooking was such an awesome caveat.
Love it.
I mean, you'd walk in that place. It was the only studio in the world that you had to walk into that smelled like garlic 24/7. And it was beautiful, man. I mean, the place was just, and musicians and producers loved being there because there was so much synergy going on. Hey, what are you doing, man? Oh, I'm over in Studio C doing this. Oh, really? Come on and listen to what I'm doing. Hey, man, next week I'm tracking. Are you booked next Tuesday? Oh, yeah. It's like all this stuff would happen.
Wow.
So it was a cool place to be. Every Friday we had a courtyard. We'd bring in what we call the dirty water dogs from New York City. The Sabrett hot dog carts in New York City?
Yep.
We bought one of those and put it in our courtyard. And every Friday
Nice.
we throw the hot dogs in the dirty water. Not really dirty water, but it looked like it.
Yeah, right.
And guys would come from other studios. I remember every time we had hot dog day in the courtyard, Michael Omardian, world-renowned producer,
Sure.
good friend of mine, he would show up and we'd all kibitz and we'd joke. And I mean, it was just, Dino and I would just look at each other and not say a word and just go, man, this is so happening.